If you care for someone with dementia, you've probably been there. It's this incredibly confusing, sometimes heartbreaking situation where you can see all the struggles they're having, but they just insist they're perfectly fine. Well, today, we're going to unpack the real neurological reason why that happens, and I'm telling you, it's probably not what you think.
And it really all boils down to this one question, doesn't it? The one that causes so much friction and, honestly, just so much heartache for families. Are they even aware of what's happening to them? And the short answer, which is kind of surprising, is often no. But there's a very specific medical reason for that.
I mean, you see it play out right in front of you. They might forget a name they've known forever or a really important doctor's appointment. Maybe they struggle with something simple like making a meal. And yet, the moment you try to step in to help or even just show a little concern, they just brush it off. Nothing is wrong. It's like you're living in two completely different realities, and it can be maddening.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of this. The key to understanding what's going on here, it's not stubbornness. It's not them just being in denial in the way we usually think about it. It's a very specific neurological condition, and it has a name, anosognosia.
And the word itself is actually pretty fascinating. Anosognosis. It comes from Greek, and it literally means to not know a disease. And that right there is the most important thing to get. This isn't a choice. It's not a decision they're making. It's a symptom of the disease itself, a symptom that literally stops the brain from being able to see that it's impaired.
So how does this actually happen? Well, the answer is physical. It's caused by the damage that dementia does to the brain. You can think of the parts of our brain that handle self-awareness and insight, especially the frontal lobes, as being like an internal mirror. It lets us see ourselves clearly. But for a person with anosognosia, that mirror is, well, it's broken. They genuinely, truly believe nothing is wrong because the very part of their brain that's supposed to sound the alarm just isn't working anymore.
And this is where we get to this really bizarre paradox of the disease. There's a quote from Dr. Peter Robbins that just captures it perfectly. He says, "Dementia is the only disease where the sicker the person gets, the less they know it." Think about that. It's the complete opposite of how we think about almost any other illness. Usually, the sicker you get, the more you feel it. But with dementia, it can be the other way around.
Okay, this brings us to a really, really critical point. It is so easy to confuse what's happening with simple denial, but they are not the same thing at all. And understanding that difference, honestly, it's a game changer for any caregiver.
So let's break it down. Denial, that's psychological. It's a defense mechanism, right? A person in denial might know deep down that there's a problem, but they refuse to face it, maybe out of fear or pride. But anosognosia, that's neurological. It's not about choice. The brain is it's physically incapable of processing the fact that there's a problem. It can't see what's so obvious to the rest of us.
This is a perfect real-world example, and it uses the really tough topic of driving. So in both cases, the person has had a few accidents. Now, the person who's in denial might say something like, "Yeah, I know my memory's not great, but hey, I've been driving for 50 years. I'm fine." See that? They admit there's a problem, the bad memory, but they explain it away. The person with anosognosia just says, "There's nothing wrong with my driving." Period. For them, in their reality, that is 100% true.
All right, so what does this actually look like day to day? Let's go over some of the common signs and symptoms you might see.
And I'm guessing some of these are going to sound pretty familiar. Things like always having an excuse for a mistake, right? "Oh, I'm just tired." Or insisting they're fine living by themselves, even when it's obvious they need support. And here's a huge one, getting really angry or defensive when you try to point something out. You have to remember, from their point of view, you're not being helpful, you're just attacking them for no good reason.
Now, one really important thing to know is that this isn't always on or off. Their awareness can actually fluctuate. It can come and go, especially in the early stages. They might have these brief and probably terrifying moments of clarity where they do realize something's wrong. But as the disease gets worse, as the damage to the brain increases, those moments of insight, they usually happen less and less.
Okay, so understanding why this is happening is a massive first step. But now for the practical part. How do you respond? What can you actually do as a caregiver that's helpful and, doesn't destroy your relationship? So here's a really powerful 3-step approach you can use. Number 1, and this is the big one, stop arguing. Just don't do it. Trying to convince them they have dementia, it's like arguing with a brick wall. It will get you absolutely nowhere and just make everyone upset. Second, redirect them gently. So instead of saying, "No, you can't cook by yourself anymore," try something like, "Hey, let's make dinner together tonight. I could really use your help."
And third, just focus on safety. Make their environment safer. Maybe you disable the stove or hide the car keys instead of trying to rely on their judgment, which you know is impaired.
The amazing dementia care expert Teepa Snow just nails it with this quote. She says, "Meet them in their reality, because you can't pull them into yours. And trying to argue," she says, "is like fighting the tide. You'll only exhaust yourself." And that's so true. It's a fight you just can't win.
You know, all these strategies we just talked about, not arguing, redirecting, focusing on safety, they're all built on one single powerful foundation. And that foundation, that tool, is compassion.
Seriously, if you take only one single thing away from our time together today, please let it be this. Their lack of awareness is a symptom. It's a symptom of the disease, just like a fever is a symptom of the flu. It is not a personality trait. It is not them being stubborn. It is not a character flaw. It is the brain damage talking.
And once you can really truly let that sink in, it changes everything. It lets you shift your own reaction from total frustration to patience, from anger to empathy. And that shift, it's not just good for your stress levels, it completely changes their world, creating a much more peaceful, loving, and supportive space for them to live in. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. When you're dealing with a disease that literally takes away a person's ability to see themselves, what if the most powerful tool in your toolbox isn't logic? What if it's not about winning an argument? What if it's just compassion?